If you're into tactical RPGs, now's going to be a great time to catch up on some amazing ones. Today we're looking at 10 awesome tactical RPGs you'll really need to play. These games give you deep strategy, great stories, and plenty of fun, perfect for when you want to take your time and plan your next move. Let's check them out. Triangle Strategy. We're dropped into a world where 3 big nations are beefing over salt and iron. Sounds weird at first, but the way they handle it feels super real. You play as this noble guy named Serenoa, and your choices actually shape how the story plays out. Like, every big moment lets you decide how to move forward. Do you play it safe, take risks, trust your gut, or listen to your crew? The cool part is, it's not just about picking one path and watching a cutscene. Your team literally votes on what to do next, and you can talk to them before a decision to try and change their minds. It feels personal, like you're actually leading people, not just pushing buttons.
You are responsible for more than just your own life now.
Now, let's talk gameplay. This is real tactical stuff. It's a grid system where positioning matters a lot. If your characters get flanked or you mess up your turn order, it can go south fast. You need to plan every move, think ahead, and know your squad's strengths. Every battle kind of feels like a chess match with swords and fireballs. Triangle Strategy is perfect if you want a game that makes you think, but also keeps the story front and center. It doesn't waste your time with grindy fluff or random side stuff. It's focused, serious, and actually gives you power to shape how things go.
Not another step.
A battle to prove which of us is more fit to rule Norsalia.
A new future is before us, but first, we must carve our way through to it.
Tactics Ogre Reborn. This one's a straight up legend that finally got cleaned up for modern players. It's the kind of game people who've been into tactics stuff for years always bring up, like, yo, if you haven't played this, you're missing out. And now with Reborn, it's actually way more playable. No jank, just a solid, smooth ride from start to finish. The game throws you into this crazy world full of war, betrayal, and hard choices. You play as a guy named Dinam, who's just trying to survive and protect the people he cares about. But things get messy fast. Like, one minute you're fighting for justice, and the next you're getting pulled into big-time political drama that makes you question everything. And the game doesn't hold your hand. It throws you real decisions where none of the options are perfect. You just gotta go with your gut and live with the outcome. Combat here is that classic grid-based, turn-based style, but super deep. Every unit has its own job class, stats, skills. You gotta think about every move. Terrain matters, direction matters, elevation matters. This isn't the kind of game where you can just rush in and hope for the best. You gotta set up your squad right, keep your archers protected, use spells smart, and watch the battlefield like a hawk. It feels good when a plan comes together and you wipe out a tough group without losing anyone. Now, Reborn added a bunch of quality of life stuff too. The menus are smoother, the pacing is tighter, and the level system got reworked so it feels less grindy. The voice acting is fully redone in English, and honestly, it's solid. Brings the story to life way more than before. The whole thing just feels cleaner, sharper, and way easier to play in 2025 compared to the old versions. It still keeps that serious tone though. This ain't some cartoon fantasy. It's dark, emotional, and grounded. A lot of stuff hits hard, especially when your choices lead to people dying or turning on you, but that's what makes it stand out. XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. You're running a small squad of fighters, hiding from aliens who already took over the world. These aren't little green men either. They're running the show now, and you're the one throwing punches from the shadows. This game feels fast and sharp. You drop into a mission, the music kicks in, and now it's your team against a bunch of freaky alien soldiers. You move around the map, take cover behind stuff like cars or trees, and try to get the jump on enemies before they spot you, but the second they see you, it's go time. Bullets fly, people scream, and the whole thing can fall apart in one bad turn. What makes this version so intense is the new enemies, the Chosen. These 3 bosses don't play fair. They show up when they want, ruin your mission, and then bounce. And they don't just die once. You gotta hunt them down later at their base and shut them down for good. It adds this creepy pressure that never really goes away. But there's cool stuff too. You get to build up your base, unlock weapons, train soldiers, even give them nicknames. And man, after a few missions, you start to care about these folks. You lose one and it kinda hurts. You remember how they always hit their shots or carried the team? It's personal. This game keeps you thinking. It's not about rushing in, guns blazing. You gotta plan your steps, know when to fall back, and always stay focused. Every win feels earned, and well, every loss hits kinda hard. Wasteland 3. This one's cold, brutal, and kind of funny in a dark way. You're dropped into frozen Colorado, leading a group called the Desert Rangers. You're out here trying to bring law and order to a world that completely fell apart, but nothing goes smooth in this place. Every town, every gang, every weird little bunker is a total mess, and somehow it's your job to deal with all of it. The tone of this game is a little crazy. One second you're helping some peaceful folks build a safe home, next you're staring down a cult that worships Ronald Reagan like a god. The choices you make actually matter. You can help people, lie to them, rob them, wipe out entire groups, or try to keep things balanced, but whatever you pick, the game remembers. Stuff comes back later, and sometimes it bites you in the ass. Combat is tactical and turn-based. You move your squad around the battlefield, duck behind cover, and pick off enemies with guns, flamethrowers, sniper rifles, whatever you can get your hands on. Positioning matters. If you stand out in the open, you're toast. If you play it smart, even tough fights can go your way. You also get vehicles in this one. Your armored truck can join fights, and it packs a punch. What really makes Wasteland 3 feel special is how full of personality it is. Every area has its own weird vibe. One place might feel like a peaceful snowy town, the next is run by maniacs in clown makeup with rocket launchers. You never really know what's coming next, and the humor hits hard if you're into that dry, twisted kind of comedy. The gear system is fun too. You can build your squad your way. Heavy armor tanks, sneaky snipers, tech nerds who hack robots, whatever works for your style. And yeah, there's a ton of loot. Guns, armor, trinkets, you'll be finding cool stuff constantly. Disgaea 7. This game doesn't care about being normal. It's loud, goofy, colorful, and totally over the top. You're not just fighting enemies here, you're tossing them across the map, doing millions of damage, and pulling off moves that look like anime explosions mixed with wrestling slams. It's crazy fun if you're into big numbers, wild characters, and tons of strategy under the chaos. Story is set in a demon-filled world called the Hinomato Netherworld. It's got this cool mix of samurai vibes and classic Disgaea nonsense. You follow a lazy samurai named Fuji and this super hyped up girl named Pirilika. They're trying to take down some corrupt leaders and bring honor back to the land. Kinda. It's half serious, half pure joke. The dialogue is packed with dumb humor, fourth wall breaks, and random chaos. But that's what makes it fun.
She's been running around with an infernal treasure in her bag?
Combat is grid-based and turn-based, but unlike most strategy games, this one doesn't hold back. You can throw allies or enemies, lift characters on top of each other like a tower, use giant transformations, and even battle inside items. There's a feature called Hell Mode that just cranks things to 11. You also get Jumbification, which lets your characters turn into giant versions of themselves and just destroy everything in sight. The game doesn't really care about being balanced either. It wants you to break it. You can level up to 99.99 stack buffs and build some completely busted teams. If you like grinding and messing with numbers, this game is your playground. It's full of systems to learn, tweak, and abuse until you're doing galaxy brain combos that melt bosses in one turn. Into the Breach. In this game, you control a team of mechs, and the job is simple. Protect the cities from big alien bugs called the Vec. They pop up, try to smash everything, and you gotta stop them using just 3 units and a lot of thinking. And the maps are tiny, just a few squares wide, but even in that small space, the game throws out tough situations that make you pause. You always know what the enemies are about to do. It's not about guessing, it's about solving. You're not just trying to win, you're trying to lose the least. Maybe you can't save every building, but you can shove a bug into a mountain, block a spawn point, or take damage yourself to protect something more important. It's all about trade-offs. It's also a game that never wastes time. Missions are fast, fights are clean, you don't sit through long tutorials or get buried in menus. Everything you need is right there, and you just keep going. You unlock new squads, try new builds, and each one plays different. Some focus on fire damage, others on freezing enemies or pulling them across the map. Every team changes how you think. There's no dialogue trees, no deep backstory, just a world that's on the edge and a time loop that keeps pulling you back whenever things go wrong. And that's the loop. You lose, you learn, you go back and try again with what you picked up. Even failure feels useful. The visuals are simple, kind of old school pixel art, but everything is super clear. Nothing gets in your way. You can play it slow and think everything through, or get into a rhythm and knock out a few missions during a break. The soundtrack is low-key, kind of moody, but it fits. It gives the fights a quiet tension that never really lets up. Marvel's Midnight Suns. So yeah, it's a Marvel game, but it ain't what you'd expect. It's not some button-mashing action thing like Spider-Man or Guardians. This one slows things down and leans hard into strategy. It mixes card-based combat with the turn-based system, but still keeps that Marvel energy alive. It's kinda like XCOM, but with Iron Man, Blade, and Ghost Rider throwing out flashy moves, so yeah, that kind of stuff. You play as a custom hero called the Hunter. You're not some background nobody. You're the main deal. And yeah, you get to fight alongside all the big names, but you also shape how the story goes. You chill with the squad at a place called the Abbey, and that's where a lot of the story happens. You hang out, talk, give gifts, and build friendships. It's not just for fun either. Bonding with characters makes them stronger in fights. Yeah, so being a good teammate actually pays off. Now the combat, it's all about cards. Sounds weird at first, but it clicks fast. You draw cards that represent your hero's abilities. Maybe a strong punch, maybe a big AoE blast, and you gotta play them smart. You've got limited moves per turn, so you have to decide fast. Knock out a weak guy now or set up something big for next round. Every turn matters, and when you pull off a clean combo, it feels real smooth. You can kick enemies into walls, drop stuff on their heads, or just wipe the floor with a well-timed ultimate move. And the squad variety is nice. You got big names like Captain Marvel, Wolverine, Doctor Strange, and each one plays totally different. Some are tanks, some are support, some are straight up nukes. You build decks for each one, upgrade their skills, and tweak your squad depending on who you're vibing with. It never feels boring because there's always something new to try. The Abbey stuff adds another layer too. You can explore the place, find secrets, upgrade your gear, and even train your heroes. It's a cool change of pace between missions, helps break up the fights, and lets you just chill for a bit. Midnight Suns is a mix of brains and style. It's not super fast, and it's not for people who just want to smash buttons, but if you like thinking ahead, building squads, and seeing your favorite heroes in a fresh way, this one hits different. It's bold, weird, and way more fun than most folks expected. Gears Tactics. Alright, Gears Tactics is just straight up mean and satisfying. This one takes the heavy, in-your-face feel of the Gears of War series and drops it into a turn-based tactical setup, but somehow it still hits hard like the shooters. You're not crawling through huge open maps or dealing with slow pacing. This thing moves fast. You drop into a mission, your squad spreads out, and now it's time to start blasting. Like, it still keeps that Gears vibe and what the series is known for: chainsaws, big armor, chunky weapons, you know, all of it, but now it's about smart moves instead of twitch reflexes. And the best part is it's super aggressive. Most tactics games make you sit back and play safe, but Gears Tactics wants you pushing forward, flanking, using executions to earn extra turns, and staying in control. It feels good, man. You take down one enemy and your whole team can chain off that kill and wipe the board if you're clever. Your squad's made up of different classes like heavies, snipers, support, and scouts. Each one brings something strong to the table. You can customize their loadouts, level them up, and build them how you want. There's gear upgrades, skill trees, and tons of ways to make your squad feel like your team. And it looks clean too. Big explosions, slick slow-mo shots when you land, headshots, and all the gritty, war-torn visuals you'd expect from a Gears game. Even the sound design goes hard. Those guns feel heavy, and the enemies let out nasty screams when you finish them. Gears Tactics doesn't try to be some giant 80-hour RPG. It's tight, focused, and just super fun to play. You don't have to spend forever grinding or managing dozens of units. It's more like drop in, make some smart plays, watch some locusts explode, and move on. Troubleshooter Abandoned Children. This one's kind of a hidden gem. Most people haven't even heard of it, but once you get into it, it hits way harder than you'd expect. It's made by a small team out of Korea, but it's packed with content. We're talking full-blown tactical RPG with a deep combat system, layered story, and tons of characters. The setting's a bit different from your usual fantasy or war game. You're in a big city called Valhalla, but it's not some Viking thing. It's more like a modern sci-fi anime world with cops, rebels, corporations, and a whole lot of chaos going on. You play as a young dude named Albus, who's a troubleshooter, basically a freelance peacekeeper for hire. He's out there trying to do good in a city that's falling apart and slowly builds his own squad along the way. Combat is where the game really shines. It's turn-based but way deeper than most games. There are tons of skills, classes, builds. You can set up crazy combos if you know what you're doing. Every unit can learn a ton of passive traits, and you're always unlocking new stuff. There's cover systems, status effects, elemental damage. It's a lot, but it's all clear once you get into the rhythm. It doesn't hold your hand, but it rewards smart thinking. What's wild is how long this game is. It's massive, like hundreds of hours if you really want to dig into every side mission, build out every character, and find all the secrets. And yeah, there's a lot of dialogue, tons of cutscenes, character stories, and slice-of-life moments in between the big fights. It's got that anime-style vibe with characters slowly opening up over time. Some folks might bounce off that, but if you enjoy a slower build with a lot of personality, it hits. Visually, it's clean. Not AAA fancy, but the art style's colorful and the UI is smooth. It feels like a cross between an anime and a strategy sim. And the soundtrack holds up too. Some chill tracks, some intense ones. It all fits the tone. Troubleshooter Abandoned Children is perfect for folks who want a tactical game that's big, detailed, and filled with heart. It's not fast and flashy like Gears Tactics, and it's not as light as Into the Breach. This one asks for your time, but it gives back a ton. You build your team, watch them grow, and get pulled into a city full of problems that only you can fix. Definitely one of the best deep cuts in the genre. Belseal Arbiter's Mark. Belseal Arbiter's Mark feels like it came straight out of the golden age of tactics games. Like someone played Final Fantasy Tactics 100 times and said, yeah, let's do that but smoother and more modern. And that's exactly what this is. A full-on, grid-based, turn-by-turn strategy RPG with a clean art style and a ton of class freedom. You play as an Arbiter named Kairi, basically a law enforcer in a fantasy world that's trying to keep itself together. The world's built around this council of immortals who rule from the top, and Arbiters like her are supposed to keep the peace down below, but things start going sideways, and pretty soon you're wrapped up in some serious political drama, shady gods, and rebellion talk. Gameplay-wise, it's pretty chill and easy to pick up, but it still gives you a lot to play with. You build your squad from the ground up, choosing from a big list of classes like knights, mages, assassins, healers, and even more wild ones later on. What's cool is that you can mix and match skills across classes, so you can make some crazy custom builds. Want a knight that also heals, a wizard who throws knives? Go for it. It's turn-based on a square grid with height and positioning actually mattering, so it scratches that classic tactics itch, but it moves fast enough to keep things fun, not a drag like some older games in the genre. There's a bit of challenge too, especially if you crank up the difficulty, but it's fair. You're always getting better gear, more abilities, and leveling up your squad in a way that feels rewarding. The art style is kind of hand-painted, kind of storybookish, not super flashy, but it's cozy. Same with the music, it's nice and calm, fits the fantasy world well. Story's solid too. Nothing mind-blowing, but the world is well written and the main characters have some heart. Wildermyth. Wildermyth is kind of like sitting down with a bunch of friends and making up a fantasy story together, except the game is doing most of the hard work for you. It looks pretty simple at first, like a book come to life with flat characters that move like cardboard cutouts, but don't let that look fool you. There's actually something really special going on underneath. You start off with a group of nobodies, farmers, hunters, blacksmiths, just regular folks, but as you play, these people slowly turn into heroes, and not in some generic chosen one kind of way. I mean, they change over time. Some fall in love, some lose an eye in battle, some retire and have kids, some even become half animal or part ghost. Every character ends up feeling like someone you know. What really makes Wildermyth different is how it tells its stories. It's not one big main plot like most games. Instead, it gives you a bunch of short scenes, like little comic strips, that pop up depending on what's happening in your journey. You'll get stuff like two characters arguing, or finding a weird artifact, or running into an old rival. And it always feels personal because the game builds the scenes around the exact heroes you're using. That's what makes it feel alive. Combat-wise, it's turn-based, kind of like Fire Emblem or XCOM, but it's pretty chill and easy to follow. You can hide behind walls, flank enemies, use magic, and even throw stuff from the environment. There's this neat system called interfusion, where mages can link with objects and use them to attack, like setting a lamp on fire or making a tree explode with vines. It's not super hardcore, but there's just enough strategy to keep it fun. Also, I gotta say, it's one of the only games where aging is a big deal. Your characters get old. They start out young and strong, but after a bunch of battles and adventures, they'll start slowing down. Their hair turns gray, their stats drop a little, and eventually they'll retire. It adds this really nice feeling of time passing, like you've lived through something real with these folks. XCOM Chimera Squad. Chimera Squad is basically like XCOM's younger, more laid-back cousin who's trying something new. It still has the same turn-based tactics and alien fighting vibe you'd expect from XCOM, but instead of big global warfare and permadeath drama, this one's more like a squad-based police show with superpowers. The setup is kinda cool. Aliens and humans are finally trying to live together after all the chaos from the older games. You're in charge of a special team, a mix of humans, aliens, and hybrids who work together to keep peace in this big futuristic city called City 31, and yeah, it's still dangerous as hell out there. And the way turns work is also different. Instead of moving all your guys first, then the enemy's moving, the game mixes up everyone's turn order. Like you go, then an enemy, then another teammate, and so on. So you have to plan more carefully because you can't just wipe everyone out before they get a chance to shoot. There's also this breach system at the start of every fight where your team busts into a room in slow motion and gets a couple free hits, kind of like a SWAT team kicking in doors. It's quick, flashy, and actually pretty fun. Story-wise, it's a bit lighter than normal XCOM stuff. Instead of saving the world, you're more like a space cop squad, taking down crime gangs, cults, and rebel groups. It feels more like a season of a sci-fi TV show than a war movie. In a good way. It moves fast, and the missions are bite-sized, so it doesn't drag too long. That said, if you're looking for hardcore, soul-crushing strategy with permadeath and endless upgrades, this isn't really that. It's more forgiving, more focused, and honestly a great entry point for folks who always found XCOM a little too brutal. King Arthur Knight's Tale. King Arthur Knight's Tale is a dark, slow-burn, tactical RPG with a heavy focus on story and decisions. It's not your usual heroic fantasy stuff. Everything here is twisted. You play as Mordred, the guy who killed King Arthur, but now you're both back, and Avalon's gone completely to hell. King Arthur's basically turned into this ghostly nightmare, and the Lady of the Lake sends you to finish him off again? Right from the start, the game sets this grim tone. You're not collecting shiny swords and saving happy villagers. It's more like dragging a tired group of battle-worn knights through cursed forests, ruined castles, and monster-infested dungeons. And the world is just broken. No one trusts each other. Every mission feels like you're barely holding things together. The turn-based combat is solid. It's tactical, yeah, but slower and heavier than something like XCOM. Every hit counts. Positioning matters a lot. You're dealing with armor, stamina, cooldowns, so you can't just click and win. Some fights can get pretty rough if you're not planning ahead, and if your knights get messed up in battle, they stay injured for a while. They don't just bounce back. You have to rest them, patch them up, or even replace them if it gets too bad. Between fights, you spend time managing your version of Camelot. You upgrade buildings, assign knights to tasks, and deal with political stuff. Your choices change how your people see you. Are you a ruthless king or someone trying to do things right? And the knights in your party? They've got opinions. Pick sides too much, and some of them will straight up leave or turn against you. That gives the whole thing a bit of pressure. You're not just building a team, you're keeping a bunch of proud, damaged people from falling apart. the story does a good job of making you feel like your decisions matter. It's not black and white, there's a lot of gray. Sometimes the right choice still leads to something bad. You're dealing with old legends, fallen heroes, magic that doesn't care if you're a good guy. It's all messed up. Visually, it looks great. Dark lighting, good detail on armor and faces, strong atmosphere. Like when you step into a ruined cathedral and you see shadows crawling across the walls, you actually feel the weight of the place. It's not just combat and menus. The world actually pulls you in. This game isn't short, it takes time to get through, and it's a bit slow at times, but if you like games where you can build a squad, make big choices, and feel the consequences later, it's worth it, especially if you're into that gritty medieval vibe where nothing is clean or easy. Othercide. This one's got a serious mood to it. The second you boot it up, you'll see it's not your average tactics game. Everything's in black, white, and red. The vibe is creepy, cold, and kind of beautiful in a really sad way. Feels more like a dark painting than a game sometimes. You control a squad of badass warrior women called daughters. They're all born from one soul, the mother, and your job is to fight off nightmarish monsters that are leaking in from some twisted other world. The whole thing is very dreamlike. You're not saving cities or exploring maps. You're diving deep into this strange place where reality is breaking apart and everything you fight looks like it crawled out of someone's worst nightmare. The gameplay is fully turn-based, but with a twist. You can see the full timeline of turns on screen. That means it's not just about reacting to enemies, but planning ahead. You'll want to delay their moves, interrupt their attacks, or set up combos before they even get a chance to act. It's slick. Every fight feels like a puzzle, and there's a cool rhythm to it once you get the hang of it. Now here's the catch, there's no healing in the middle of battles. If one of your daughters gets hurt, the only way to heal her is to sacrifice another daughter. Yeah, you actually have to kill off one of your team to save another. It adds this weight to your decisions. You can't just recklessly throw your squad into fights and expect to come out clean. Sometimes you'll have to let one go, and it sucks. There's some roguelike stuff in here too. If your whole squad wipes, it's not game over. You restart from the beginning of the run, but with some upgrades and knowledge that carry over. It's tough at first, but you slowly build a stronger team over time. There's a learning curve, no doubt, but once it clicks, it's really satisfying. Style-wise, Othercide is killer. The animation, the sound design, the voice acting, all of it works together to build this eerie, unforgettable atmosphere. It doesn't scream or jump scare you, it just crawls under your skin and stays there. It's one of those games that sticks in your head long after you stop playing.
Must not know my secrets.
Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous. Like really big. It's one of those games where you could easily sink 100 plus hours into it and still feel like there's more to see. If you're into classic PC style RPGs with deep world building, tons of dialogue, and chunky tactical combat, this game's got you covered. You play as a character who becomes something more than human, a kind of mythical being depending on your choices. You're thrown into this giant war between demons and mortals, and the world is basically hanging by a thread. Cities are falling, armies are clashing, and you're right in the middle of it all, trying to tip the scale. You're not just going on a personal journey, you're literally leading a crusade. Yeah, like with armies and battle maps and all that. The cool part, you have a ton of control. You can shape your main character however you want. Class, background, moral choices, romance options, even what kind of mythic power you unlock later on. Want to become a holy angel, a literal demon, a lich that raises the dead? This game lets you do all that, and it shows in how the story plays out. The combat is deep, tactical, and pretty crunchy. You can play it in classic turn-based mode or real-time with pause. Either way, there's a lot going on. Positioning, buffs, spells, resistances, the whole works. It can be overwhelming at first, especially if you're not familiar with D&D style mechanics, but once you learn the ropes, it feels super rewarding. Every fight feels like a proper challenge, especially on higher difficulties. Now, the writing, it's solid. There's a lot of talking, but most of it is well done and adds to the world. Your party members have their their own stories and opinions, and they'll challenge your decisions. The choices you make really matter here. Some can lock you out of entire paths or lead to wild changes in how things play out later. It's the kind of game where your second playthrough might feel totally different from your first, but fair warning, it's a lot. The UI is dense, the systems are layered, and the game expects you to pay attention. If you're just looking to chill and click through something light, this ain't it. But if you're down for a long, deep dive into a dark fantasy world full of demons, epic battles, and tough moral choices, Wrath of the Righteous is a beast and worth the time. Dark Deity. You control a group of young students who get pulled into a big war before they're ready. It's that kind of coming-of-age thing where they slowly become real heroes. The story isn't gonna blow your mind, but it's decent, easy to follow, has a nice cast of characters with their own personalities, and the writing doesn't get too heavy. Think of it like a casual fantasy novel. Light drama, a few jokes, some rivalries, that kind of vibe. Combat is the main focus here. It's pretty straightforward but satisfying. Each character has their own class and weapons, and you'll unlock more stuff as you level up. Instead of weapons breaking, like in classic Fire Emblem, weapons here are permanent but upgradable, so you don't have to stress about managing inventory too hard. There's also a class promotion system, so your characters evolve and get cooler as you go. It's not super flashy or huge in scope, but it feels clean and focused. You're not getting a huge open world or cinematic cutscenes, just simple maps, snappy battles, and some fun strategy. If you want a bite-sized tactics game that plays smooth, looks retro, and doesn't ask too much of you, Dark Deity is honestly a nice pick. Symphony of War, the Nephilim Saga. This one's kind of a hidden gem. It doesn't look flashy at first, but once you get into it, it hooks you real fast. What makes it cool is how you're not just moving single fighters around, you're building little squads. Every unit on the field is actually a team, like a mini army. You set up who's in front, who's healing, who's dealing damage. It feels more like managing a whole group than just clicking around with random soldiers. The game flows smooth, nothing feels too slow, and the fights move quick once you know what you're doing. It's turn-based, but not boring turn-based. There's always stuff going on, enemies swarming in, flanks opening up, your healer barely keeping folks alive, and it stays exciting. Between missions, there's a lot of fun planning. You unlock new classes, upgrade your gear, mix around your team setup, kind of like building your own little war machine. You can mess with formations, make a squad full of archers, or try weird combos just for fun. That part's almost more fun than the battles. If you grew up on Fire Emblem or older strategy stuff, this one scratches that itch, but adds its own flavor. It's deep, but not complicated, chill, but never boring. Solasta, Crown of the Magister.
When we make history.
This one's for the D&D folks out there, but more like the chill, tactical kind. Solasta runs straight off the actual Dungeons & Dragons rules, so if you've ever rolled dice at a table, this'll feel familiar. But even if you haven't, no worries. It still plays smooth and doesn't shove a rulebook in your face. You build a full squad from scratch, like 4 custom characters. You pick their race, class, background, all that stuff, and the best part, these guys actually talk during the game. They joke, argue, comment on stuff, which makes them feel more alive than the usual silent puppets you get in some other RPGs. It's cool seeing your crew bounce off each other during missions or just while exploring. Combat is turn-based and built around positioning, light, height, and all that strategy stuff, like shooting from high ground matters, sneaking in shadows works, and lighting up dark areas as part of the puzzle. It's not just hack and slash, you really gotta think. But it never feels too slow or stiff. If you like chess-style battles with magic and swords, this hits the spot. Story-wise, it's classic fantasy. Ancient ruins, weird artifacts, political drama, nothing too crazy, but it moves along fine. It's more about the adventure and how your team handles situations than about some huge cinematic story. You'll explore dungeons, solve little puzzles, talk to folks in towns, and get into fights that feel like mini set pieces. Visually, it's clean and solid, not some high-budget explosion fest, but everything looks good and works well. Dungeons feel moody, the spell effects pop, and the world's got that old-school tabletop vibe, but in 3D. It's not trying to hold your hand though. The game expects you to figure things out, build a solid team, manage spells, play smart in battle, but once you click with it, it's pretty rewarding. If you ever thought, man, I wish I could just play D&D by myself without needing a dungeon master, this is basically that. It's not a flashy, story-heavy game, but as a tactical fantasy RPG, it delivers hard. Cris Tales.
Fight to reclaim the future from those who would.
Cris Tales is like playing a storybook that got hit with a time travel twist. It's a classic turn-based RPG at its core, but with one big hook. You're fighting in the past, present, and future all at once. Might sound weird to you, but it's actually pretty easy to get into once you mess around with it. You play as Cris Bell, a girl who wakes up with the power to see time, like literally see the past on the left, present in the middle, and future on the right, all on the same screen. That alone gives the game this super unique style. You'll see how towns change, people grow older, or disasters unfold, and then you can jump in and try to stop it. The way it plays with time isn't just cool for the story, it also ties into combat. So here's the fun part. In battle, you can toss enemies into the past or future, like poison an enemy, then push them forward in time so the poison hits all at once, or age a metal shield into rust so you can actually damage the guy behind it. It's super creative and you actually feel clever when you pull it off. The turn-based fights feel like old school JRPGs, think Paper Mario or early Final Fantasy, but with that extra time twist layer on top. Now, yeah, sometimes the pacing can feel a little slow and the voice acting might feel a bit stiff in spots, but the world is interesting, the characters are likable, and the way you interact with time makes it feel totally different from other RPG.
Bruh.